Islam is the biggest threat. Yeah? And let me talk about the reason why. I hear so much of an argument about demographics, okay? And the fact, and people call me out. You don't talk about demographics, or you don't talk about the replacement of our people. And these are the things that are thrown at me. Now, and the reason, and you know my upbringing. So I'm a one-trick pony. I'm brought up in Luton. Luton is one of the most diverse towns. When you look at the population growth, and these are statistics, okay? From 2001 to 2011, the Hindu community went up by 150,000 people. Yeah, it went from 650,000 to 800,000 people in that 10-year period. Okay, the Jewish community went up by 30,000 people in the same period, and the Sikh community went up by 100,000 people in that period. Yeah? So the Muslim community went up by 1.4 million people. Now, if we take legal migration or illegal migration, 80% of illegal migration into this country is Islamic. 80%. So when I talk about the problem for our country or the replacement of our people, if you look at European statistics, there's 25 million Muslims in Europe now. In 10 years' time, if migration is stopped, the population will go up by 10 million. If it's not stopped and it's allowed to accelerate at the same rate, that will go from 25 million to 75 million. This is Islamic, okay? So when I say am I a one-trick pony, the biggest threat to our country, and if you want to talk about the replacement of our people, is not by the Hindus, it's not by the Sikhs. They're healthy, growing communities at a normal rate, okay? The birth rate, the demographical change, and the replacement, which comes into it, of British people and the towns. When you see your town change, wow, look what's happened here. For example, look at Manchester. Manchester's Muslim community from 2001 to 2011 went from 50,000 to 100,000. It doubled. In just a 6-year period from 2011 to 2017, we saw a 2% total increase. A 2%. Muslim population went from 4.1% to 6%. Literally in a 6-year period. So when people say, am I a one-trick pony? You don't talk about... No, I don't talk about the Sikhs. Do you know why I don't talk about the Sikhs and the problems with the Sikhs? It's because they're the biggest house owners, the biggest business owners, the biggest contributors to the economy, okay? The most patriotic immigration group we have in our country. A total blessing to our nation, okay? Brilliant people, patriotic people. So I'm not going to complain that Sikhs are building temples. I'm not going to moan about the Hindu community, who are as peaceful and tolerant as anyone can wish for, okay? And they're not growing at their community. It's not like it's going to replace ours, because they're not. It simply doesn't. The stats and the numbers don't show that. They show that their community over a 10-year period grew by 150,000 people. The Islamic community grew by 1.5 million. With all the problems within that Islamic community of terrorism, of extremism, of violence, of rape, all these problems. So why don't I blame everything on all of the other demographics? I'm sorry, even if you look at Luton, and I do get frustrated with this because I see people, you don't talk about the demographical change. The demographical change is the Islamic change, okay? It's the Islamic change. The 80% of illegal immigration is Islamic. The massive overflow is coming from the Islamic community. The change of your town and city is not coming from your average Jamaican that come here 30 years ago, okay? They're not off. It's just not. The black community in Luton, in the census from 2013, the predicted growth forecast by 2030, the West Indian community was going to increase by 1.3%. The white community by 1.2%. The Bangladeshi and Pakistani community by 75%. Am I a one-trick pony? It's the one thing we need to talk about. It's the one issue that's affecting this country. And it's the fact that every other community is there's certain groups or certain people want to tarnish immigration per se. That's my mum that come here as an immigrant. That's many of the best people and beautiful people in this country. And how they have I just sit there and think, well, what policy do you want to bring? You want to, and I try and understand their argument. I just think you're not even, look, Islam is a problem to this country, okay? It's the biggest problem. So am I a one-trick pony? If there's one thing that someone needs to talk about, it's Islam. If there's one thing someone doesn't need to talk about, it's the Hindu and Sikh community in the UK. And then I hear thrown up so much about knife crime, and I'm just countering the arguments I hear. Yeah, but it's the blacks. It's the blacks. I think the biggest knife problem was in Glasgow, okay? Years ago, it was Glasgow. And that comes from poverty. And many of the black communities, because many of them don't have dads, okay? And that's just a reality. Many of their dads have gone, it's poverty. Okay, it's a cut, and I know it from Luton because the young lads that are running around with guns and knives in Luton are black and white. Okay,